I stood in the doorway of my aunt's sprawling mansion, watching the annual Miller family business dinner unfold in the formal dining room. Crystal glasses clinked, designer suits gleamed, and success stories were traded like currency. The same scene that had played out every year since I was a child, except this time, everything was about to change. "Oh, Alexandra, you made it," Aunt Catherine's voice dripped with false warmth. "We're a bit crowded in here with the important guests. Why don't you sit in the kitchen? You'll be more comfortable there." I glanced at the perfectly set dining table where my cousins Michael and Elizabeth sat with their respective spouses, all proudly wearing their Miller Enterprises executive badges. The important guests were potential investors they'd been courting for months, unaware that those same investors had already signed deals with my company. "Of course, Aunt Catherine," I said quietly, smoothing down my simple black dress, a custom Valentino that they'd assume was from a department store. "I wouldn't want to disturb the business discussion." "That's the spirit," my Uncle James, CEO of Miller Enterprises, called out. "Leave the real business to those who understand it." If he only knew that I understood it better than all of them combined. That while they thought I was running a small consulting firm, I'd built Aurora Industries into one of the most powerful private equity companies in the country. That their precious family business was already in my crosshairs. "Still doing that little consulting thing?" Elizabeth asked, her diamond bracelet catching the light as she gestured dismissively. "You know, we're always hiring entry-level positions at Miller Enterprises. Even you might qualify for those." I thought about the documents sitting on my desk at Aurora's headquarters. The ones that would show Elizabeth exactly what little consulting thing meant. "I'm doing fine," I replied, taking my assigned seat in the kitchen, next to the staff preparing dinner. They at least had the decency to look embarrassed on my behalf. Michael's voice carried from the dining room. "Did you hear about our latest acquisition? $300 million deal." But of course Alexandra wouldn't understand numbers that big. I suppressed a smile thinking about the billion-dollar deals I closed last month alone. About how Aurora Industries had systematically been buying up Miller Enterprises suppliers, partners and competitors. About how this dinner would be their last celebration before everything changed. My phone buzzed, my CFO's name flashed on the screen. She knew not to call during family events unless it was urgent. "Excuse me," I said to no one in particular, though I could see Aunt Catherine frowning at my rudeness. "Ms. Miller," Sarah's voice was clear and professional. "The final paperwork for the Miller Enterprises acquisition is ready. Their board has secretly approved the sale. Should we proceed with the announcement tomorrow?" I stood up, deliberately moving closer to the dining room door. "Put it on speaker, Sarah. I want to make sure I hear all the details clearly." The conversation in the dining room quieted as Sarah's voice filled the kitchen. "The purchase price is set at $2.4 billion, significantly over market value given their recent losses. But as you predicted, their desperation to sell before the scandal breaks made them eager to accept." I watched color drain from Uncle James's face as he recognized the details of the confidential deal he'd thought was safely hidden. "And the voting shares?" I asked, loud enough to carry. "Secured. Between the shares we've quietly acquired and the proxy agreements we've obtained, we control 63% of Miller Enterprises. The family will retain only minority interest with no operational control." Elizabeth's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the expensive tablecloth. Michael stood up so quickly his chair toppled backward. "What's going on?" one of the investors asked, looking between me and my shell-shocked family. I walked calmly into the dining room, phone still on speaker. "Just finalizing some business, Mr. Davidson. Though I believe you already know about this deal, since your firm signed support agreements with Aurora last week." "Aurora?" Uncle James whispered. "You're working with Aurora Industries?" "Not exactly," I smiled, finally letting the facade drop. "I am Aurora Industries, founder, CEO, and as of tomorrow morning the new owner of Miller Enterprises." The silence that followed was deafening. Years of dismissal, of relegation to the kitchen, of being treated as less than them, all of it was about to be repaid with interest. My phone buzzed again. The timing couldn't have been more perfect for what was coming next. "What did you just say?" Uncle James's voice shook as he stood up, his face turning an alarming shade of red. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion in private," I suggested, glancing meaningfully at the investors who were watching the scene unfold with increasing interest. Like how we will, Michael snarled, but Aunt Catherine grabbed his arm. Of course, she said through clenched teeth. The study. Now. As my family filed out, I turned to the investors. Gentlemen, I apologize for the dramatics. I trust our previous agreements still stand. Mr. Davidson nodded, a slight smile playing at his lips. Wouldn't miss this show for the world, Ms. Miller. Or should I say Ms. Aurora? In Uncle James's wood-paneled study, the explosion I'd been waiting for finally came. You manipulative little snake, Elizabeth hissed. How dare you embarrass us like this? Embarrass you? I perched on the edge of his massive desk, the same desk where he'd once told me I wasn't Miller material. Like you embarrassed me for years? Making me eat in kitchens, excluding me from meetings, treating me like some charity case. We were protecting you, Aunt Catherine insisted. You weren't ready for the business world. I pulled out my phone, pulling up Aurora's latest financial reports. Current market cap, $12.8 billion. Annual revenue, $3.2 billion. Net profit margin, 28%. Tell me again how I wasn't ready. Michael grabbed the phone, his hands shaking as he scrolled through the numbers. This is impossible. You're nothing but a small-time consultant. That was my cover, I smiled. While you were all busy looking down on me, I was building something bigger than Miller Enterprises could ever be. No. I own you. You can't do this, Uncle James finally spoke, his voice hoarse. The board would never approve. The board already has. I pulled out a stack of documents from my bag. Remember that emergency meeting last week? The one you called to discuss the mysterious buyer who'd been acquiring shares? That was me. Through various shell companies, Aurora already controls the majority. Aunt Catherine sank into a leather chair, her perfect posture finally breaking. But where did you get the money? Remember that app one developed in college? The one you all laughed at. I watched comprehension dawn on their faces. Sold it for $50 million. Invested every penny. Built Aurora from the ground up while you were all too busy mocking my little consulting business to notice. Elizabeth started pacing, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood. This is about revenge, isn't it? Making us pay for not handing you everything on a silver platter. No, Elizabeth. This is about business. Miller Enterprises is undervalued, poorly managed, and ripe for acquisition. The fact that it belongs to my loving family? That's just a bonus. My phone buzzed again. Sarah was sending through the final contracts. Oh, and there's one more thing you should know. The merger announcement goes public at 9 a.m. tomorrow. But the press release isn't just about the acquisition. What do you mean? Michael demanded. I pulled up the draft on my phone. Miller Enterprises has been covering up some interesting financial irregularities. The kind that might interest the unless. Unless what? Uncle James whispered, though he already knew. Unless you all resign. Tonight. No golden parachutes, no consulting positions, no board seats. You walk away with your shares converted to Aurora stock, minority interests only, of course. And I don't release the evidence of your creative accounting. Aunt Catherine stood up, straightening her designer suit. You wouldn't dare. We're family. Family. I laughed. Was I family when you made me eat in the kitchen? When you told potential clients I was the cleaning staff? When you denied me the vice presidency I'd earned because it would confuse people to have me in leadership? I stood up, smoothing my dress. You have 1 hour to decide. Sign the resignation letters my lawyers are drafting, or I release everything. And trust me, prison jumpsuits aren't nearly as flattering as your Chanel. You'll destroy the Miller name, Uncle James protested. No, Uncle James. You did that yourselves. I'm just buying the remains. As I walked to the door, Elizabeth called out, Where are you going? I turned back, savoring the moment. To the dining room. I believe there's an empty seat at the head of the table now. The headlines the next morning were exactly as I'd orchestrated. Miller Enterprises acquired in surprise takeover by Aurora Industries. Family dynasty crumbles. Entire Miller board resigns. The kitchen-to-corner office. How an outcast heiress conquered her family's empire. I sat in what used to be Uncle James's office, watching the stock price climb as the market reacted to the news. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. Uncle James, we need to talk. Family means something. Aunt Catherine, Darling, let's discuss this over brunch at the club. Elizabeth, you can't just destroy our lives like this. Michael, think about the family legacy. I forwarded them all to my legal team with one note: document the harassment. Sarah walked in with the morning briefing. The transition team is ready. Should we start with the executive floor? Yes, I smiled, looking at the blueprints. Remove the mahogany paneling first. I want glass walls. Transparency will be our new policy. And the family portraits in the boardroom? Replace them with our company values. Merit, innovation, inclusion. I paused. And put a special one in the kitchen. Success is served at every table. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Ms. Miller, your family is in the lobby. All of them. I checked the security feed. They looked different now, disheveled, desperate. Elizabeth's Hermes scarf was askew. Michael's confident smirk was gone. Aunt Catherine's perfect makeup couldn't hide her fear. Send them up, I said. It's time for their exit interviews. They filed in like scolded children, standing awkwardly before the desk where Uncle James had once held court. The kitchen's that way, I pointed, watching them flinch. In case any of you feel more comfortable there. Alexandra, Uncle James stepped forward, his voice hoarse. We can fix this. Whatever grievances you have. Grievances. I opened a thick folder. 20 years of systematic exclusion. 15 denied promotions. 10 years of being seated in kitchens and hallways. And one particularly memorable Christmas where you said I'd never understand real business. I closed the folder. Those aren't grievances. They're motivations. We were protecting you, Aunt Catherine pleaded. No, I corrected. You were protecting yourselves. Your positions. Your power. Well, congratulations. You lost it all. Elizabeth burst into tears. What about our jobs? Our reputations? Your jobs? I smiled. Oh, you'll have to interview for them like everyone else. Merit-based hiring, imagine that concept. As for reputations, I turned my laptop to show them the trending business news. I'd say those are already handled. Michael, always the strategist, tried a different approach. The Miller name still means something. We could work together, show a united front. The Miller name meant everything to you, I agreed. Until today. Aurora Industries is acquiring all rights to the Miller brand. You can keep your name, but the business legacy you're so proud of? That belongs to me now. I pressed a button on my intercom. Send them in. The door opened and a group of young executives entered, all women and minorities who'd been previously overlooked by Miller Enterprises' old guard. Meet your new management team, I announced. All highly qualified professionals who understand that success isn't inherited, it's earned. This is revenge, Aunt Catherine whispered. This is business, I corrected. Something you claimed I'd never understand. Though I do have one special position in mind. I turned to Elizabeth. The kitchen staff needs a new manager. You'll find the uniform more comfortable than those designer suits you can't afford anymore. Later that evening, as the sun set over the city, I walked through the empty offices. The cleaning crew was removing the old Miller Enterprises logos, replacing them with Aurora's rising sun. In the boardroom, the family portraits were being taken down, making way for a new vision. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from the family group chat I'd been excluded from for years. Family dinner this Sunday. Your aunt's house. Please come. I typed back, sorry, busy with a merger. But I hear the kitchen has excellent seating. Then I blocked the number and turned to the window, watching my reflection overlap with the city lights. The scared girl they'd banished to the kitchen was gone. In her place stood a CEO who'd learned that the best revenge isn't just taking over their company, it's running it better than they ever could. 1 week later, I received an invitation to speak at my old business school. The topic? Breaking the glass ceiling and the family china. I accepted immediately. The first line of my speech would be simple. Sometimes the best view of success isn't from the head of the table, it's from the kitchen where you can watch them choke on their own pride. Because in the end, success isn't about where you sit at dinner. It's about owning the whole restaurant. Me. I was just getting started. The next morning, I called a company-wide meeting. Every employee, from janitors to executives, was invited, something the old regime had never done. Miller Enterprises was built on exclusion, I told them. Aurora rises through inclusion. Everyone here has value. Everyone here has a voice. And no one will ever be sent to the kitchen unless they're the head chef. The applause was deafening. Sometimes the person they underestimate the most becomes the one they can never overcome. And sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning, it's changing the whole game. As for my family, they're learning that success isn't served on a silver platter. Sometimes it's cooked up in the kitchen by the very person they thought would never have a seat at the table. Now I own the table. And they're the ones left hungry for what they lost.